Over the years, I have been asked, gosh, I don't know how many times, if I double my ad budget, will I double the number of customers coming into my business? And intuitively, you know it can't work that way, but let me see if I can explain why, and then we'll look at what you can do that doesn't necessarily involve any additional spending. Okay, can we have a few minutes together to do that?
Yes.
Good. When you open your business and you hang out a sign, people drive by, they see the sign. We call this location-dependent business. If you're in a great location, more people drive by and see the sign. I put a dental sign up here because when I lived in South Haven, Mississippi, I used to drive to work down Swinney Road and take a right on East Goodman, and there was a dentist on the corner. And then every night I'd come back up East Goodman and take a left on Swinney. Minimum of 10 times a week, sometimes 12, sometimes 14, I would drive past that sign. I did that for 6 months before one day I said, you know, maybe I should consult the services of a local dentist. And, because I'm too fit. And who do I know? Well, I don't know anybody, but I've been exposed to that sign a minimum of 260 times now. You advertise to reach people who never drive by and see the sign. And here's the reality. The easiest people in the world to bring to your business are the ones that are right next to you. It takes no investment on their part. They're a couple blocks away, they drop in and see what you got. When they get out here to the 10-mile radius, it takes significantly more persuasion. Let's say traffic moves through town at 25 miles an hour. Wow. For them to take the 10-mile trip to your store and back, they're investing, what, an hour, hour and a half easily? And at today's gas prices, another $4 to $6 in gasoline, it takes more persuasion. So the least expensive customers are the ones who have nothing to invest to drop in and see what you've got. And that makes this not a linear equation, but a thank you. It's actually a square root relationship, but the more you spend, the curve flattens out. And yes, you'll get more customers, but each one of them will cost incrementally more. And that's why doubling your budget is never going to increase by a factor of 2. First, because a great many of them are already location dependent. And second, because each additional customer costs more. Okay? The advertising performance equation is pretty straightforward. It is the impact of your ad copy. And that is a multiplication factor. Average is 1. If it's less than 1, it's because your ads are less than average. Customer experience. This is not necessarily an individual customer's experience. It is the collective experience of all of your customers as they talk to each other and other people. That also is a multiplication factor, with 1 being neutral. Your share of voice is a percentage of all of the advertising dollars being spent in your market, in your business category. The market potential I put in red because that's the only one of the 3 that you have absolutely, or the 4 rather, that you have absolutely no control over. This is the number of dollars going to be spent by every customer of every business in your category in the coming year. Or the previous year, depending on how you make it out. And if you multiply the impact of your ads times the experience of the customers times your share of voice times the potential of the market, that will be the number of dollars you're pulling in. This is slightly misleading because we don't break out advertising-driven and location-driven sales. But if you'll allow me that little bit of fantasy, we will proceed. In Huntington, West Virginia, a community I was very familiar with, I can promise you that this was the number of dollars spent in jewelry in 2010. Let's take a hypothetical jeweler. Let's say our hypothetical jeweler is spending 10% of all of the advertising dollars being invested in that market. But let's say that his ads are not only average, maybe a little less than average. Let's say that he's boring. Diamonds of this quality are exceptionally rare. Doesn't that sound like the adults in the Peanuts cartoons? So what happens is he doesn't get 2.56% anymore because you can't bore people into purchasing from you. So he's harming his own revenue by doing bad advertising. But if we took his ad and made just a minor change in it, she'll kiss you like you've never been kissed before. Wow. I'd give that just slightly better than average. That's my own estimation. But if you have 1.1 as your impact, and you were still average in the experience, and you still spent 10% of the market, and the market stayed the same, that's a difference of, what, $500,000? In Huntington, West Virginia, a city of 50,000 people, you can make a difference of $500,000 by just changing the quality of your ads and not changing your spending and not treating people any better. This is astounding to me. Let's look at 3 case studies that will illustrate this point. Steve Beckley was the service manager at the local Mercedes dealership. And in his early 20s, he opened his own independent service shop. He not only worked on Mercedes, he also worked on BMWs, and he started branching into Range Rovers and Saabs. He finally decided that Beckley Automotive, which is sometimes listed as Beckley Imports, he has both identities, he works only on import automobiles. For the longest time it was European imports, and then he decided Japanese imports were pretty good too. In Des Moines, Iowa, where he lives, most of the mechanical work goes to, for the high-end cars anyway, goes right back to the dealer. Why? Because nobody wants to void the warranty. But as soon as the warranty expires, Steve is there with a postcard series that he's been running forever that says, "We're your service experts. Land Rovers, Volkswagens, Lexus, Mercedes, Infiniti, we're your service experts. And we're here to do engine systems and brakes and safety features, and we're Bosch certified." And he was doing quite well. He was doing a couple $1 million a year. He said, "Chuck, I got to get to $3 million so I can sell this place and retire." And after looking it over, I said, well, here are 2 things I'd recommend you do. First, start talking to specific brand owners, because I promise you, anybody that drives a BMW does not consider himself an import car owner. Anybody that drives a Volvo does not consider himself an import car owner. When you say, "Dear import car owner," you're not connecting. They ignore what you had to say. The other thing is, man, you've got such great stories. You've got stories of things that have happened to you and stories of things that have happened to your customers. Instead of talking like an advertiser, just talk like people talk to each other. Tell stories. So, you've seen this postcard because Jeff used it as an example. The same time this went out, the Porsche card, as I recall, said that he told the story of a customer picking him up one afternoon and saying, "Come on, let's go for a drive." And they got in the Porsche and they drove to the bank and walked directly into the bank manager's office. And he said, "I want you to meet my mechanic." And the bank president said, "Oh, so you really can get a Porsche worked on in this market." Another very simple story. And when this happened, I'm assuming that it was 33% better than what he had, because nothing else changed, and his revenue went up by $500,000 a year just by changing the postcards to individual mailings and by telling stories. He's still doing 6 cards a year. Richie's Real American Diner, I want to draw your attention to this number here. They're tiny. And even in Victorville, California, which is not that big a community, they're really tiny. Don't seat that many people, but Roger was and is a delightful person. He's delightful to work with because he keeps such incredibly accurate records. Roger can tell, well, this ad, by the way, is 2 columns by 3.5 inches. And Roger can tell you which day of the week in the local newspaper gives him the best return on his investment. He standardized on this size after experimenting with a number of them and finding out for the number of dollars invested, this one got him the most customers back. He played with offers like steak and eggs and pork sandwiches and pork dinners until he found those that really got him incredible return. And as we talked, I said, are you doing anything to grab new customers as they come to the market? Let's do that. We took a portion of his advertising dollars, a very small portion, and moved them into a direct mail campaign that we did as a promotion thing. I said, man, you have got to be generous with this. You can't give somebody a buy one, get one coupon and expect to get their attention. And again, we're going to speak directly to one person at a time, the way people talk to each other. So we put together this letter, and he said, Rod, I'm not a restaurateur. I am a restaurateur, I'm not an ad writer. Here's why we started the business. Here's what I want to do. I want to buy dinner for one member of your family. It doesn't mean buy one, get one free. It doesn't mean when 3 of you come in, you get a discount. It means I'll buy one member of your family the dinner of your choice from our extensive menu of America's favorite foods. On me and my family, it's our little investment in you. This went to new homeowners in the community for about a 13-week period. He always comped the most expensive item on the menu. If somebody wanted the porterhouse dinner, that's the one that got comped. And interestingly, every single one of those letters that came back in showed a 6% profit for the campaign. We know his ads were working because people carried them inside along with 3 other family members who paid full retail. And by the time you have added the cost of the printing, the purchase of the list, the postage, and the promotional food, we still made a 6% profit on every one of those letters that came back in. It's an improvement of about $110,000 over the course of the 13-week promotion. And again, this used just a tiny portion of his budget. O'Neill and Whitlock, when I first met them, were divorce attorneys already. And they had already said, you know what, we don't want to deal with women. I said, why not? Oh, they come in, they're all emotional, they take up the time of my staff who end up patting them on the hand and saying, there, dear, everything will be all right. And then we go out and we do our best work for them, and they don't want to pay us. Men come in here, they say, here's what we need to get done. We say, okay, they write us a check, we go to court, we win. So O'Neill and Whitlock were doing divorce for men. I said, oh, well, let's do this first. Can we hear this? No, because we don't have the sound plugged in. Let me tell you about Kelly Chang. She's an average Southern California divorce attorney. Actually, she's probably above average, but her ads, I think, are pretty average. Now, on the plus part, she is attractive, she's articulate, she makes good camera contact, she's likable. But if you could hear her, you'd be hearing her telling you all about you. You'd be hearing her, all about her rather. You'd be hearing her telling you that she is a custody match certified attorney, whatever that means. You'd be hearing her talk about her specialties, and she never gets around to saying, here's what's in it for you. She just says, let me tell you about me. And that's really typical for that industry, isn't it? One of the things that we had to address is by the time people are talking about dissolving their marriage, they're really not friends anymore. There are a lot of open hostilities and some that are not quite so open, and we need to actually address that. We need to talk directly to prospects, and this is an emotional appeal. It's not an intellectual appeal. Don't talk about your qualifications. Is there a way to plug the sound in since this next one's radio ad? Thank you. I was competing with another agency for this account, and they did a very great, well-produced ad about a guy sitting in a bar feeling sorry for himself. And we did this instead.
This is Emily. She's 4 years old. Emily's parents were divorced 2 years ago. Emily doesn't know what divorce means. She's never heard the term visitation. She doesn't know that her mother won't let her father call. Emily only knows that her daddy doesn't come to see her anymore. O'Neill and Whitlock understand. They're lawyers who understand custody, visitation, property division, child and spousal support. O'Neill and Whitlock understand that fathers have rights too.
What's wrong, Emily?
I miss my daddy.
O'Neill and Whitlock have built a solid reputation as tough fighters, ready to go to court and win for you when they have to, prepared to negotiate out of court when it's in your best interests. O'Neill and Whitlock, attorneys at law. Call 326-1000. 326-1000. O'Neill and Whitlock. Because it's time somebody evened the odds.
This ad ran for the first time on a Monday afternoon, and immediately both the radio station and the legal firm got deluged with phone calls from angry divorced women. And I said, yes! Got it! So here's the outcome. I've got to assume that it was half again as good as what everybody else was running, because there's the difference in revenue for the firm. So let's look at some numbers here. Beckley Automotive did nothing but change the content of 6 postcards a year, made a difference of probably $600,000 a year for them. Richie's Real American Diner, that was only a portion of their advertising, and truthfully, I annualized the figure of what was a 13-week promotion to come up with that total, just to make it comparable to the others. And that's approximately what O'Neill and Whitlock's revenue increased over the course of the next year. So my point is, we did nothing but write better ads, and this is the payoff in small communities around the country like Des Moines, Victorville, and Bakersfield. Okay? Here are the things I'd like you to take away today. Increasing your ad budget will increase your ad-driven sales, but it's never a linear relationship. Every additional sale costs more. The advertising performance equation has 4 variables. You have full control over 3 of them. And increasing the impact of your ads can boost top-line sales 25 to 30% without any added expense. Did I deliver? My website is fishingforcustomers.com. I do an erratically published newsletter because I never know when I'm going to have something to say. You can sign up for it at fishingforcustomers.com. Thank you.
All right.